Child rights advocates are condemning moves to lower the minimum criminal age. Today, some children joined advocacy groups as they call on the government to junk the proposal. Our correspondent Makoy Papioco tells us they're using music to voice their opposition.
Hayaan sila'y mapabilang, bigyan ng gabayo pa pinabukasan nila'y maiayos, buksan ng pintuan, lawakan ng isip na kaligayahan lang ang kailangan nila. Kung may kamalian man silang nagawa, itayo natin mula sa pagkadapa.
Through rhyme and rhythm, 18-year-old Brian Oligario and his friends voiced their opposition to some lawmakers' move of lowering the minimum age of criminal liability to 12.
Parang nadidiin po yung mga mararalito eh. Parang ang nangyayari, pag may kaya yung, pag anak ng may kaya yung nakagawa ng kasalanan, parang hindi naman ata nila magagawang ikulong o kung makulong man saglitan.
They were among the children's rights advocates who faced the media Saturday. They say the proposed policy is anti-poor and inhumane. They call for better support for quality rehabilitation of juvenile delinquents instead of punishing them. Government records show there are about 66,000 children in conflict with the law in the country. More than half of this number come from poor families without a stable source of income. The Juvenile Justice Welfare Council says, ideally, there should be at least 114 children's rehabilitation centers or Bahay Pag-asa in the country, as mandated by law that each province and highly urbanized city should have its own. However, currently, there are only 58 Bahay Pag-asa in the country. Of this number, only 8 underwent review if they have been abiding by standards, and many are privately owned.
Actually, pagka-private ang isang facility, ang isang institution, the family really has to pay kasi hindi siya subsidized ng government. So that's another problem when it comes to implementing the law that we already have.
Advocates like Madela say the real solution to reducing cases of juvenile delinquency is the creation of more rehabilitation centers and to address the lapses in the implementation of the current law. For Brian and his friends, the solution is as simple as showing affection, that children, especially the poor, should be guided as they deal with difficult decisions towards adulthood.
The Commission on Elections releases the list of senatorial candidates for this year's midterm polls. 76 names made it to the list, but 13 names might still be stricken off. Let's get more details from Rex Remitio, who joins us on the line. Rex, go ahead.
The battle for the 12 Senate seats heats up. From 152 persons who filed their certificates of candidacy, the Commission on Elections cut this down to half. 76 senatorial candidates will fight it out in the 2019 midterm polls. This is the most number of candidates since the 1992 elections. 14 of them are former or current senators. This includes ex-senators Bong Revilla and Serge Osmeña, after the disqualification cases against them were dismissed. Jimenez also says 13 of them might still be stricken off the list unless they're able to prove they are not nuisance candidates. It's also noticeable, though, that fewer women are running, ironically in a nation that places high on gender equality. Only 12 of 76 candidates are women, the smallest number since 2010. Mai.
Rex, tell us about the 13 candidates who may still be stricken off this list. What do they have to do to prove that they're not nuisance candidates?
Well, according to Section 69 of the Omnibus Election Code, they have to prove that they're not putting the election process in mockery and that they're not also causing confusion among voters, for example, by the similarity of their name. Or they have the clear intention to run for the office, and also that they have the financial capacity to independently launch an election campaign. Mai.
Rex, when will the COMELEC release the final official list of senatorial candidates?
Well, according to COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez, they were given a period for the filing of their appeals, but if they did not file any appeal by that particular period of time, then they will be disqualified. Mai.
All right, thank you, Rex Remitio there reporting. Meanwhile, the COMELEC has also released the names of 133 party list groups for this year's elections. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez, however, says the names in the list are not yet final. The Bangsamoro Organic Law is officially ratified. This means the creation of the Bangsamoro region begins, replacing the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. Trisha Terada reports.
4 days after the historic plebiscite in Mindanao, the Bangsamoro Organic Law is now officially ratified.
The Commission on Elections, sitting unbanked as the National Plebiscite Board of Canvassers, hereby proclaims Republic Act Number 11054, otherwise known as the Organic Law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, as deemed ratified.
The COMELEC on Bank says Cotabato City will join the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, after it garnered over 36,000 yes votes with 24,994 no votes. Isabela City and Basilan Province, on the other hand, will not be part of BARM after failing to achieve a double majority in the voting. Because while Basilan voted in favor of Isabela City's inclusion in BARM, Isabela itself rejected the move. Over 22,000 voters opposed the city's inclusion in BARM. The official count took 2 days. It started on Thursday with the votes from Cotabato City, where the National Board of Canvassers questioned the difference in the total number of no votes in the Certificate of Canvass, or COC, and the Statement of Votes, or SOV. But the Tabulation and Audit Committee clarified on Friday there is no discrepancy. It turns out the city plebiscite canvassers simply overlooked the second page, so the count was incomplete and the total number of votes was affected. When this was corrected, the sum of all no votes for Cotabato was placed at 24,994, and the COC and SOV counts matched. As for the second issue on the total number of people who actually voted, the Tabulation Committee discovered there were incomplete entries in the number of actual registered voters. The OnBank said it was simply a clerical error. As soon as issues with Cotabato City COC was resolved, the national canvassers proceeded with the official count for Isabela City. But even before the canvassing of votes for Isabela City started, a concern was raised by a yes proponent.
Are you alleging fraud?
Yes, Your Honor. That there are plebiscite returns that would reflect, that showed erasures and have been tampered.
When you allege fraud in the certificate of canvass, on its face, the certificates of canvass, are they genuine on its face?
On its face, they are genuine, Your
Yes,
Honor.
but you are alleging fraud of the contents.
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that a ground for stopping the canvass? Is it or it is not?
It's not, Your
It
Honor.
is not a ground.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know your relief.
The OnBank canvassed the ARMM last. Its COC shows over 1.5 million are in favor of ratifying the BOL, while more than 198,000 have opposed. From here, COMELEC will submit its report to President Duterte, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. There will be a second round of plebiscite on the inclusion of other contiguous areas. This will be held in Lanao del Norte and North Cotabato on February 6. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
The newsroom's back with more stories. The third telco player not quite final. Senators question the qualifications of Mislatel Consortium, the company that won the bidding to take on the role and improve connectivity. Our Joyce Ilas tells us more.
To this committee.
For the first time, Davao businessman Dennis Uy faced the Senate hearing on the selection of Mislatel Consortium as the third telco player. Uy is the CEO of Udena Corporation and Chelsea Logistics, which are part of the consortium, together with China Telecom, a government corporation of China. The businessman maintains the consortium went through the proper process when they were selected as the provisional new major player.
We want to assure the committee and the public na walang nilabag na kahit anong rules ang Mislatel at gagawin namin ang lahat para protektahan ang interes at seguridad ng Pilipinas.
During the hearing, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon claims the franchise of consortium member Mindanao Islamic Telephone Company, or Mislatel, was automatically deemed revoked due to a violation. He explains Mislatel violated the conditions of its franchise when it did not operate within a year after being granted a franchise in 1998, and for failing to get congressional approval when it sold majority of its shares to other businessmen and transferred control.
If you do not have the qualification, you cannot participate. That is a pre-qualification requirement, a valid franchise.
The Supreme Court made a very simple decision here, Your Honors, please. that since a franchise is a property right, there is a due process requirement for it to be revoked.
For its part, the Department of Information and Communications Technology says they are under time pressure to select a third telco.
Yung aming procedure, we did not see kung sinong kumalapit. We just went by documents. Nakita nyo yun, no? We just did it. Ikaw ba may document na ito? Wala, sorry. Ikaw may document? Wala. Mislatel lang kompleto.
In December, the House of Representatives approved the transfer of Misnatel franchise to the consortium composed of China Telecom and UIS companies. It will be up for the Senate's approval next. Senate Public Services Committee Chairman Grace Poe says they will come up with a committee report which would assess the validity of Misnatel's franchise, as well as the qualifications of the consortium as the third telco player.
Sinabi ni Secretary Rio kung anong magiging desisyon ng Senado kung sinabing wala silang lehitimong prangkisa, hindi maaring matuluyan. Pero syempre, iniisip din naman natin yung interes ng mas nakararami.
The Selection Committee earlier said it will consider the Senate Committee's report in the post-qualification review. It also gave Misnatel until February 17 to submit all requirements needed, including its franchise, before the Selection Committee will decide if they will give the consortium the frequencies needed to operate in the country. Joyce E. Philippines.
More than 6 million pesos worth of SHABU were recovered in Hagonoy, Bulacan yesterday. Police also arrested a suspect identified as 35-year-old Jeffrey Samson. Bulacan Police Provincial Director Chito Barsaluna says Samson received a parcel containing what is expected to be SHABU delivered to him from Las Vegas, USA. The specific source of the contraband is still being traced. Meantime, in Cotabato, authorities arrested 2 high-value targets in separate buy-bust operations last Thursday. They confiscated 3.4 million pesos worth of suspected SHABU.